Hello and welcome. My name is Nanny Cash, and we are back with NFL predictions. Now, the last week that I predicted, I did not do so great, only getting 6 out of 16 results. Lots of upsets, as we know from week 2. But hopefully, things start settling out a little bit and we can get a little bit better moving forward. So, we're going to go through one game at a time, predict who's going to win, and we'll see how this week pans out. So our first matchup on my board here is the Thursday night matchup, a divisional rivalry between the Patriots and the Jets. The Patriots 1-1 as a team, as well as the Jets. So that's again might be more of an even matchup than we initially anticipated. Patriots getting that surprising Week 1 win against the Bengals, and then falling short against the Seahawks last week. The Jets, again, had a tough first round against the 49ers, and then did just enough to get a win over the Titans. I anticipate this is going to be a close game. I do see the Jets probably as the favorites here. They are at home, although, again, it's not a far distance from Foxborough for the Patriots to travel. However, I am going to just edge the Jets here. I think if it's a close game and you need a late drive, out of the two quarterbacks, I would pick Aaron Rodgers over Jacoby Brissett. So just in that small little amount, I'm going to give the Jets the victory here. The next matchup I have, again, all AFC so far, is the Sunday game against the Chargers and the Steelers. Both teams sitting at 2-0, so looking good so far. Although when I think about the teams that are played, maybe they haven't hit the best competition yet. So we'll see what comes of this. I would look at this as being a very hard-nosed defensive game. Lots of running, good defense. It's going to come down to kind of who can get into field goal range, who can get those field goals in, and potentially then if you get that opportunity for a touchdown, that could be the difference. In this one, even though I think Justin Herbert is the better quarterback, I think the Steelers' defense is a little bit better. The way that they held off Atlanta and the Falcons, and then the Falcons go and beat Philly, maybe is an indicator that Pittsburgh has had a little bit better opponents that they faced, and so I'm going to give the win to the Steelers here. So Steelers over the Chargers. Then we have our Monday night game, Jacksonville traveling out to Buffalo for that one. I think this is going to be another tough matchup for Jacksonville. They're 0-2 so far after having close losses against Miami and Cleveland. And I don't see this getting any better for them. Unfortunately, when you look at their schedule, those are the games that they need to win if they're going to be positioning themselves into a playoff picture. And I think Buffalo is just a little bit better for the way that they dominated Miami, and that's even before Tua went out of that game. Buffalo is looking very strong and will continue that, and so I do see Buffalo getting the victory in this matchup. As we look further down the table, the next matchup on my list is between the Packers and the Titans. Packers 2-0 and getting that second win over the Colts, despite not having Jordan Love in the lineup and having Malik Willis. But them running the ball effectively allowed them to win. Where then the Titans are 0-2 after another tough loss. When I look at this, I'm thinking about who is in the best position to limit the amount of damage that they're going to give, right? These are two quarterbacks that aren't going to light it up, but if they can control the game and then make smart choices, then I think they will be successful, which then leans me towards Green Bay. Again, Will Levis had another opportunity where he was trying to make a very low percentage play, and it almost cost them a really bad turnover. So again, he's got to clean that up. If the Titans are going to have any chance of being in these games and pulling some wins from them. So I'm going with the Packers here. The next matchup we have is Houston Texans going up against the Vikings. Interesting that this is a matchup between undefeated teams, as many didn't see Minnesota doing so well, especially against their win against the 49ers. I think they're running very hot right now, and that's good for them. And the Texans also are 2-0. When I take a look at those games, though, it seems to me that the Vikings have been very dominant in those games, where then they haven't really had to face any close games, where then Houston has faced close games, but maybe not against as strong of opponents, right? At least not as strong as San Francisco, right? A close win against the Colts in week 1, and then a close win again in week 2 against the Bears. Doesn't seem to me like they're maybe all there just yet. And maybe this game against the Vikings will be where they start to slip up and need to make adjustments. So I'm maybe going against the grain here, going for an upset, but I'm going to pick the Vikings at home to really put their home stamp on here and then go 3-0, which would be a very surprising result to start the year. Next, we have two 0-2 teams looking to still find their first win of the season. The 0-2 Chicago Bears up against the Colts. And again, when we look at these two teams, that's my apologies. The Bears did win their first game, a 1-1 Bears team. When I look at these two teams, I think Caleb Williams has a lot to learn as a quarterback, and right now, a lot of their plays are happening kind of within, the first 10 yards of the line of scrimmage. Now, when I look at the Colts, I expected that the Colts were going to play against the run against Green Bay last week and then got wrecked by it. And so I'm very concerned about where the Colts defense is right now, and if they have the proper game plan to be able to push on Caleb Williams and make him make plays. I think Anthony Richardson certainly can be out there and make plays, but if they can't get on the field, that's not going to be worth anything. So this is a tough one. I could go either way, but I think just based on that point, I'm going to go with the Bears to get their second victory on the road against the Colts. So Bears with the victory here. Our next matchup is the Denver Broncos up against the Tampa Bay Bucks. The Buccaneers starting 2-0, again getting maybe a surprising win against the Detroit Lions in a playoff rematch. And then the Broncos, again in the process of rebuilding. What does Bo Nix look like? How can he be a starting quarterback and what that looks like? I think there's a lot of learning that has to happen there before we're going to see success from Denver. Right now, it seems like they're relying on Bo Nix to just do very simple things, or at least things that he's normally used to in Oregon, and maybe that's limiting their creativity offensively. But maybe he'll get to a point where then they can expand on that. And I think for now, that's the limit that I'm going to see. I think Baker Mayfield has started very strong, and I think we'll continue that. And the Tampa Bay Bucks are going to then be one of the 3-0 teams still remaining on our schedule. So Tampa Bay getting a win at home. Next, I'm looking at the Giants and Browns. The Giants are 0-2 after a close loss against division rivals, the Commanders. And the Browns get their first win of the season up against the Jaguars. I'm really concerned for what the Giants are going to be able to do this year. I think Malik Neighbors looks like a really good prospect, and I think he's in the top 5 receiving yards already as a rookie, which is pretty impressive. But I don't really know where their other, threats are going to be. If you have a reasonably good defense like the Browns do, you're going to be able to shut down one threat and then be able to attack and make the Giants beat you anywhere else. And so it's hard for me to see that the Browns will falter here. Even though I'm not thrilled by how Deshaun Watson is playing either, I think their defense will pull through and get the victory here. Next up, we have the Miami Dolphins traveling out to Seattle for a game against the Seahawks. Again, this is an interesting one. One, because this is probably the farthest traveled game that you could have, with Miami traveling all the way to Seattle. And two, then it's a very different Dolphins team because we don't have Tua in the lineup. Skylar Thompson is most likely the starting quarterback unless things change between when I'm recording to the game on Sunday. And then the Seahawks are actually 2-0. However, they did get wins against Denver and the Patriots, so you have to kind of, gauge your enthusiasm or curb your enthusiasm about how well the Seahawks are going to do. But with the long travel, and then Seattle's home can be pretty intimidating to play in, I think there's going to be some struggles with Miami here, and I'm actually going to give Seattle the win. I maybe wouldn't have done this before, but especially with Tua out, I think Seattle has the distinct advantage, and they're actually going to be one of the teams that is 3-0 at the end of this week. Then we look at the Carolina Panthers and the Las Vegas Raiders. Carolina Panthers come up with the news that Bryce Young is no longer their starting quarterback, and they're going with the veteran Andy Dalton. And we have then the Raiders, who had a great job and upset Baltimore in an amazing game last week. So it seems like these two teams are just trending in different directions. The Panthers are resetting once again. And I don't think that putting Andy Dalton in is going to make anything better. Again, he's got maybe a more veteran presence, and you may have like less turnovers or something, but he's someone that's certainly past his prime and not going to be, really raising the bar at Carolina, and the pieces around them are not going to be helpful either. And the Raiders are then starting to find their stride again. I think Gardner Minshew is a great, fun personality to have at quarterback, and I think it suits well for the Raiders. And I think the Raiders are going to keep rolling here. I don't see Carolina coming in and making a big impact. So I'm going to give the Raiders their second win of the season, and they'll be 2-1 in the AFC West. The next matchup is probably one of the more intriguing ones because we have the Baltimore Ravens up against the Dallas Cowboys. This one's really interesting because both teams got defeated in a surprising fashion last week. Baltimore now sitting at 0-2 for the season, although playing Kansas City week 1 is not really easy either. But it's hard to say, well, one of these teams is going to be struggling or kind of below 500 after 3 weeks into the season. Or maybe both of them are. It's going to be interesting to see how these two match up. My curiosity with the Cowboys is that they did well against the Browns because Deshaun Watson is not a strong quarterback. Where then Derek Carr, maybe passing, he's a much better passer, where then Deshaun Watson is maybe more of a run-heavy guy, which means maybe they've got a better game plan against Lamar Jackson, although I don't think it would be the big blowout that they had against Cleveland either. I think this will be a close game. I am going to just favor the home team slightly and say that the Cowboys bounce back and are able to get a win here. That'll put them back to 2-1, unfortunately putting the Ravens to 0-3 to start the season. Next, we have the Kansas City Chiefs up against the Atlanta Falcons. And it's interesting to see, like, the first two games that the Chiefs played, two tough matchups, Baltimore and Cincinnati, and it kind of went down to the wire to finish things out. But they're 2-0, and they're running. They are making people try to beat them, and they can't. Right? They are winning games and continue to do so. Atlanta gets a great win against Philadelphia. but again are in tough. Even if they're hosting them and Kansas City is on the road, this is still a tough matchup. And I do think that Atlanta is a little bit off of where Kansas City would be. I don't see them as being at the same level. And Kansas City's defense is something that we really need to be concerned about if you're wanting to beat them. And so it's not too difficult for me to pick Kansas City in this matchup. The last one we have here is the Washington Commanders. Sorry, the last one of cross-conference play is the Washington Commanders going to Cincinnati to play the Bengals. The Bengals also have started 0-2, which has been a tough scenario. They lost to the Patriots and then lost to Kansas City. I think they looked a lot better against Kansas City, although many people state, and I think this is from Joe Burrow himself, that they're designed in a way to be competitive or to beat the Chiefs, and so maybe don't match up as well against some others. Although when we look at this matchup here, I think they should get their first win of the season. Although the Commanders got a win against the Giants, there's a lot of growing pains for Jayden Daniels as a quarterback, and I think there's still going to be some hardships and trying to get him to play well as a quarterback. I think he could be good as a run option quarterback. However, in the passing game, there's still lots to learn. So I'm giving Cincinnati the win here. Looking at the NFC matchups, we have 3 in the schedule, and we start with the Eagles going to New Orleans to face the 2-0 Saints. Again, we maybe didn't expect that from the Saints going out and beating Dallas so handily. And I think the Eagles should be concerned. I think how easily they let Kirk Cousins come down the field and get the touchdown drive shows that their passing defense is not up to snuff. And if you have Derek Carr doing as well as he is, and even then balancing out with Alvin Kamara running the ball or catching out of the backfield, I think this could be kind of a tough matchup. And you run the hot hand sometimes here. The New Orleans Saints could keep on rolling, and I'm going to pick them to keep on rolling and be another 3-0 team that is still running well in the season. So I'm going for the Saints in this one. The next one is a division rivalry where you have the San Francisco 49ers up against the LA Rams. The 49ers, again, surprisingly got beat by the Vikings last week. Knowing that Christian McCaffrey is going to be out for a few weeks is going to be interesting. Maybe teams can narrow down on Jordan Mason so that he doesn't have a running game like he did so well in week 1. And the Rams, again, they keep losing people, right? They have Puka Nacua that was out. Cooper Kupp went out in the last game, and other injuries that they have. It's tough to keep winning when you have that many injuries. And so when you lose to the Cardinals by that much, it's showing that there's going to be a lot of growing pains. And so 2 teams that are coming off of bad weeks. I think, unfortunately, the injury bug for LA is going to continue to hurt, and I'm going to put the 49ers ahead for the win in this matchup. And finally, we have the Detroit Lions against the Arizona Cardinals. The Arizona Cardinals played really well, and if you think about their first 2 matchups, they were winning for much of the time against the Bills, and then ran over the Rams and won 41-10. So they've looked really strong, and maybe this is Kyler Murray showing again that he can be a quarterback and push a team to the playoffs. It's really early to tell, but that's kind of the trend we're seeing thus far. The Lions had a very good game, although losing to the Tampa Bay Bucks. This one's going to be closer, I think, than what people give credit. There could be lots of scoring. I think it'll be interesting to see how each of the receiving cores play, how Marvin Harrison Jr. plays. Are they going to be able to shut him down? And then how are they going to shut down Amon-Ra St. Brown on the other side of the ball as well? This one's probably one of my toughest ones to determine who the winner is. I'm going to just, yeah, that's tough. I'm going to give it to the Cardinals here. Running the hot hand against the Rams. I know the Rams aren't the same level as the Lions, and so I do anticipate this could come down to a final score, which maybe favors Jared Goff over Kyler Murray. But Cardinals pushed the Bills hard, and it took a lot for Josh Allen to come back and get the win there. And maybe then I'm going to say Jared Goff might come off a little bit short. So I'm going to give the Cardinals the victory here. So thank you so much for watching. I'm just going to zoom out a little bit here, and you can take a look at all of the picks I made. Okay, if you don't agree with them, say something in the comments and we can have a discussion. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you again next time. Bye for now.